Hi, I'm Ed Kelly, and I'm the founder of Summit Journey Coaching, and we're going to talk with you a little bit about taking control of your habits. That's an interesting concept. Let's dive into it. Let's start by going back to this morning, a little journey back to the morning. And one of the things most of us do in the morning is we brush our teeth. And we barely even think about it because many years ago, probably when we were 2 or 3 years old, we did think about it and we developed it into a habit. And so it's been there with us the rest of our lives, and it's just pretty much an unconscious task that we do every day. And the scientists tell us that about 40% of what we do throughout the day is a habit. It's an unconscious task, an act that we just do over and over and over without really thinking very much about it. And that's a good thing. It saves humans a lot of energy and a lot of time having to deliberate. You just are in a habit of brushing your teeth. Well, part of this idea of controlling your habits will tie in a few minutes to this idea of ritual. So my wife and I have a ritual on Friday nights. We go out to eat, usually for sushi, and I'll describe in a little bit why that habit, Friday night meal out, has a little bit more meaning to it and why it adds control to my life. In just a couple minutes here, we'll talk about that. So, how do you take control of your habits? Well, first of all, how wonderful is it to know, to just assert and be aware that we do get to control our habits. We get to choose. It's not like it happens to us. We get to control. That's a wonderful thing, and that's a big headline for this lesson. A habit is simply repeated behavior. And it's important to keep in mind that not only can you develop and focus on good habits, which almost all of you on this lesson would be thinking about right now, but we also have to remember that we can develop bad habits as well. In fact, we probably have some. And again, it's wonderful to know we get to choose. It doesn't just happen to us. It's our lives, it's our actions, and so we're going to get to choose whether we want to develop good habits or bad habits. And let's look at how we do that. One way to do that is by taking an inventory, where you actually go through the day and think about from the morning through the day to the evening and bedtime, what are the things you do that are habitual. And then of all of those things, which ones do you want to keep because they serve you well? Which ones do you want to replace? And what new habits would you like to develop? And finally, another way to control your habits, besides being aware and taking inventory, is to turn some of your habits into rituals. Well, what do we mean by that? Well, first let's define a ritual. A ritual is simply a habit that not only has practical value, like brushing your teeth, but it also can have symbolic value, symbolizes something important to you, and emotional value. You can feel things as a result of participating in this habit. And of course, if something is not only practical, but it's symbolically valuable and emotionally valuable, we're going to be more aware of it, and thus we're probably going to be able to keep it and develop it if we turn it into a ritual. Now, not every habit should be turned into a ritual, but you're going to want to choose some because they're such important habits to you that you'll want to turn them into a ritual. And again, just like with habits, there are good rituals and there are bad rituals, and we get to choose. An example of a bad ritual might be something that perhaps started out good. You were going out a lot with friends and maybe meeting at bars at night and having great times and a lot of socializing and, humor and enjoyment and relationships. However, perhaps it turned into a bad ritual over time in that for some people, they actually had, drinking issues and were drinking too much and perhaps binge drinking or even to the point of having, physical problems and alcoholic problems. So we have to be aware of the rituals that we want to choose and want to keep, and we can do that. So how do we get to do that? Well, again, first identify the daily habits. Pick one that you would like to add meaning to. So is there something you're doing throughout the day that you want to turn into a ritual because you want to add meaning to it? And can it have symbolic meaning and emotional punch? Can it have an emotional impact on you? Well, almost anything can. So for example, something as simple as eating an orange. Certainly it has practical value, but it might also be something you want to imbue with symbolic value and emotional value as well. It might symbolize health and a long life and your commitment to yourself and your health and your family, and emotionally it might have a reinforcing impact. Maybe you feel proud of eating healthy, or you feel good about your discipline of staying on a proper diet, etc. So something as simple as just eating an orange can be turned into a ritual. And finally, try something out. See how it feels. Just try one out. And if that one works, wonderful. And if it doesn't, try another one. It's no big deal if you need to try to do this once or twice before you find some habits that can turn into good rituals for you. So let's just get into action. First of all, write down some of your daily habits. Maybe not every single one of them. How about 5? Write those down either on a yellow pad or here at your Summit Journey coaching page. Just write 5 down and then put a check mark in front of any that are currently rituals. So you're aware that it's a ritual. You stop and say, is this habit a ritual? And again, you would know because it has symbolic and emotional content. And then circle one of those habits that currently is not a ritual, but you want it to be a ritual. You would like to add symbolic value and emotional value. And again, try it out, see how it feels. Pretty simple. There's a lot going on here, but at a simple level, you get to choose. You choose your habits and you choose your rituals. I hope you enjoy the lesson.